according to plan, and I'll just mute that up and we'll get cracking this evening. Yes, England played Turkey earlier on, and Spain are currently playing Italy. I'm not sure if we should speak about scores or not. People might be saving this, Henry, plan, and I'll just for watching after. We'll see how that goes. We'll keep an eye on it. Good to see Henry Kent here from Holborn Assets tonight. How are you?
Very well, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, pleasure good to see you. And thank you for joining us whilst an incredible game of football is on the TV. We've got Nunu here from Insurance, got Daniel from Raisin Pelicano as well. And I dare say we may well have Gilda, because I don't think she's a massive football fan. She supports Benfica after all. She can't be. Right. Let's say good evening to you. Oh, Jerry, were you pointing at other football fans?
Mariana is here.
Mariana is joining us. Hi, Mariana. How are you?
Hi, what about you guys?
We're doing pretty well, actually. Yes, good to see you. How's everything at the office?
Yeah, everything going well here at Hay, and especially now with Portugal winning with the Czech Republic, everyone is happy.
Still smiling, aren't we, about that? We were just saying earlier on how it took them a little while to win. They left it to the last minute, yes. Literally, didn't they? So good to see that. So we've got started. We got off to a good start. When I say we, that's me and the Portugal team. Now I'm speaking collectively tonight. So yeah, good start to the Euros, and we were keeping an eye on what's going on for the second half of the match between Spain and Italy as well. So it's getting exciting now. England were rubbish as usual. Right, Mariana, anything to tell us from the front line of migration?
Well, for the past couple of weeks, a good news is that San Francisco has been approving a lot of visas. So that's great news for our clients. And the visas are coming with appointments, which is great in San Francisco. And now we also have a new partnership with an international moving company, which helps a lot of our clients and can help you with your furniture, belongings, cars, even objects of arts, and pets. So
right, and Nunu can insure those as well. We'll talk to him. He insures works of art. Nunu Mensch from Insurance. Now, we spoke to Gilda soon after the new migration measures were announced, Mariana, and she said, a big smile on her face, and she was saying it could have been a wish list that she'd written herself. Do you share that? Were you glad to see these new measures that have been announced by the Portuguese government when it comes to migration into Portugal? And have any of them, are any of them anywhere near being implemented yet?
The one that I'm thinking about now is the expression of interest one. And that one, I personally, it's like, at least for some of our clients, it's not the best solution, but it's ambiguous, so I'm still trying to see what comes out of it and assessing, basically. Yes. Yeah,
okay, but interesting times for sure, right?
Yes, migration, very entertaining times migration wise.
And I'm sure your workload isn't getting any smaller, so great to have you here. Any questions you've got for Mariana and Rich from EI from A tonight, pop them into the chat and we'll get those to Mariana this evening. Daniel Reyes from Raisin Pelicano, how are you tonight? Good to see you.
I'm quite all right. Well, I'm not wearing my suit today. Today was home office day. That's why you're seeing me with this polo. Can't complain. The weather is picking up in Lisbon, although it's still a bit cloudy. But yeah, I'm longing for long summer days and hot days. So it seems that it's coming in our direction in this next weekend. It's going to be lovely over here. So all good.
Now, as a sailor, you keep a close eye on the weather, I suspect.
Correct. Yes.
And I'm in trouble.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say I'm in trouble, and you might well say to me, "You've come to the right place." But I talk about 300 days of sun. This is some, and I didn't make that up. I've just been very happy to pick that ball up and run with it, to use a footballing metaphor. And I mean, somebody's taken me to task on a YouTube video, like, yeah, Munson talking about 300 days of sunshine. It's unlikely to happen this year, but you think things are changing?
Well, indeed, this spring was not all that good, and even the winter, although it wasn't too cold, it was quite rainy. But I'm hopeful. Usually, when we have winters that are quite rainy and springs that are like the one that we just had, it's not that good. Usually, summer is good, hot. So yeah, I'm hoping for a hot summer, but without a lot of fire. So it's a double-edged sword. When the summer is really hot in Portugal, usually you do have a problem with bushfires. So let's hope that this year is not one of those years.
And of course, yeah, there were remembrances, of course, for people who perished in 2017, wasn't it?
17, yeah.
Of course, just recently. So yeah, we're hoping for hotter days, but not wildfires, of course, here in Portugal.
Yeah.
If you want to keep an eye on that, fogos.pt, it is a fact of life here in Portugal that there will be some wildfires.
And it's a great app. It's a great start, indeed.
That's fogos.pt, which you can keep an eye on. Any news from the world of law, Daniel, that you want to share with us tonight?
Well, the government is putting a lot of new measures and laws. But they're doing the announcements, and then it takes some time to get things up to speed and up to the law. So they are already doing some announcements, like the one that you just covered, migration-wise. But for now, it's just a wait and see. They are trying to get political traction, or they were trying to get political traction to have this election won. They were not able to win the election, but they were close enough to the other political party. So political wise, things seem to be in somewhat of a tie. But it's a good tie, because at the end of the day, I think the next budget, and this is the most important document that we'll need to have approved by the government, the next budget seems to have a big likelihood of being approved. So probably the government can last for, I would say, at least 6 more months, and that this is a good thing, having political stability. I'm waiting. I think that the budget will be approved, and if the budget is approved, instead of 6 months, we'll have probably 1 full year until something comes up in terms of the politicians. Well, it's wait and see, but things are a bit more promising than they were coming out of the previous election, the one for the parliament.
Very good. Thank you for that analysis. And that's quite incredible. A long-standing government of 6 months.
Well, as the parliament is so divided at the moment with 3 different blocks, it's different to find political stability in a scenario like that. But at the current stage, no one wants to pull the rug under the feet of the government and to go into new elections. The guys that were in power, the Socialist Party, they don't want to go into new elections because they know that the difference is not that big. Chega lost a lot of votes, so they don't want to go to elections as well. So this is somewhat of a Mexican standoff, and it's actually good because it buys more time for the government to have a stepping stone and eventually have a long-lasting term. But at least 6 more months we'll have this government, and I think that the budget will indeed be approved because no one wants new elections. And if it does, we'll have 1 more year of government, completing 2 in total. That's not too bad considering the circumstances.
Very good. I always enjoy your political analysis, and basically the people who want to pull the rug are realizing they're also standing on it. So
correct. That's it.
Right, okay.
You got it right.
Yes. All right. So there you go. Thanks for that, Daniel. Any questions about the law here in Portugal? We'll put those to Daniel this evening. Nuno Mendes from Winsurance. How are you this evening?
Hello. Good evening, everyone. Delighted to be here with you and with the community once again. So all good. I'm very happy to met yesterday the EI team in Porto. I also met Pedro, the accountant. Actually, I believe that there are a cinema movie, which is The Accountant, a guy that protects others. So yeah, it could be the best match to protect your taxes in Portugal. So on fiscal stuff. Regarding the insurance world, so a bit sad to see that Liberty Mutual, so a US insurer, is leaving some markets. So they left, or they are leaving now from Brazil, and they left Portugal, Spain, and Ireland. So no Liberty Mutual brand in Europe by now, or at least beginning in 2025, no Liberty brand.
Why is that, Nuno? What's their reasoning for that?
So it seems that there are some issues regarding the provisions in United States, and Liberty needs to reinforce the money that they have to pay to ensure that they have enough money to pay claims. And it seems that this is what is the reason, the real reason. But they are leaving these markets, and maybe 15 years ago, they did a lot of efforts to enter in Europe, and well, it's part of the business life.
Wow, their strategy, their developing strategy. What does that mean for the insurance companies that are left here in Europe? Presumably, it's a good thing that there's one less competitor.
We don't know yet, because the market keep telling us that there are maybe an excess of competition. So we don't know yet what will be the consequences. Nevertheless, in Portugal, the company that bought Liberty is Generali, an Italian company, is one of the main insurer groups worldwide. And in the spectrum of the Portuguese market now is that we have three main players: Fidelidade, Generali, Tranquilidade is the brand of Generali, and AGAs, the Belgium guys. So we don't know, but the market is well covered regarding the local risks that we need to insure.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Nuno. Anything else from the world of insurance that we
Yes, just a final point regarding health insurance. We keep receiving calls and providing assistance to customers that are not aware of what they have, what they bought, because when they bought the health insurance policy, it was on the middle with all of the hurry and a lot of things to handle. And even though that we provide full information, there are definitely blank spots that needs to be explained again. So please feel free to call us and question about your health insurance policy.
Very good. Okay, that invitation is always there, of course, from Winsurance. If you want to speak to them, a very approachable company, as are Spartan FX. We discovered really personal companies you can actually talk to and not have to deal with elaborate call centers and hours waiting on the telephone and talking to machines and AI and stuff like that. So we have human beings that you can deal with here in the Expats Portugal community when it comes to insurance and every other aspect of moving to Portugal. Questions about migration, you can talk to Mariana about the law. Daniel, Insurance here, talking about insurance, of course, through Nuno Mendes. And from Casa Portuguesa this evening, Carolina Muralha. Good evening to you, Carolina. Good to see you. Boa noite.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you all. I hope everything is all right with you. I'm very excited to be here again with you and ready to answer all the questions you might have.
Right, and how's it going in the world of rentals and purchasing of real estate in Portugal? Things remain pretty much on a high note, and you're busy, I'm sure.
Yeah, they remain on the high notes. The houses are still quite disappearing quite fast. But it's just a matter of calling right away, scheduling the visit, and negotiate. So we just have to be quick.
Have to be quick. That's the key message tonight then. Be quick about it. If you want some help from Casa Portuguesa in finding somewhere to live, basically, act quickly. That's what you're telling people, right? They need to make quick decisions once you're putting properties in front of them. Any trends? You know, I'd like to ask you about new areas that are coming into people's awareness. Anything to report on that front?
I had two clients. One of them decided Caldas da Rainha, which is a normal one.
Solid.
And I had another one that decided Ponta Delgada in Açores.
Oh, okay. That's a bit unusual.
Yeah, it was unusual, but she was very decided, like, I want to be in Azores because that's beautiful and they have awesome food. And I was like, it's a great decision. So let's do it.
And you just found them a selection, and they chose from your menu as well as great food, your menu of real estate, and you were able to help them out over there.
Yes, we are at the beginning, but yes, what we do is when a client decides the region and gives us the characteristics, I will look for what they are looking for and present a list of suggestions. And once they decide the ones we like, we will call, try to bring the video so you can see and do the negotiation and hopefully get the apartments.
Right. And of course, Carolina, don't forget you need to fly out to make sure everything's okay for that person, okay? That's quite important. Right, brilliant. So any questions about real estate, rentals and purchases? We've got Carolina with us as well. And we've got Henry Kent, who we mentioned before from Holborn Assets. How are you, Henry? What's going on in the world of wealth management?
Yeah, it's I'm well, thank you, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. On the side of wealth management, a hot topic this week actually has been now inflation is cooling and interest rates have been at an all-time high. People have locked in very good levels of interest rates on their savings, and we're going to see that come down. So more and more people are wanting to explore what that means when interest rates do come down and what options are available to them. I've had that come up twice this week, so that's been a bit of a hot topic in the finance world, you could say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good to know. Good to know. And people can book an appointment with you and go through that, can they? And so
yeah, indeed.
Might be. It sounded like you had some other news as well.
Work-wise or personal?
Either. We're good. It's good to know the man behind the business as well.
Well, I'm all packed up and ready to leave Barcelona. I'm just waiting for the phone call from Ama to pick up my residency card from Braga, and then I'll be doing a road trip down to the Algarve, and then settling there where I'll be establishing my foothold in Portugal.
Oh, come on. Are there places in the car? Barcelona to Braga to the Algarve. We all want to be on that trip.
You're all more than welcome to join, but I'm not sure how many will fit in the car.
That's amazing. Well, good luck with that. That sounds incredible. Don't forget. Well, Nuno, you were in Braga, weren't you? I think only yesterday. I think you'll have a fine time there, Henry.
Yes, I was.
What would you suggest to Henry? What should he go and see when he's in Braga?
Well, the city center, so the old part of the city, for sure.
Quite a contrast to the Algarve, though, right? No.
Sorry.
Quite a contrast to the Algarve. Very historic. A little bit.
Oh,
cooler.
yes. Yeah. Definitely. And when are you thinking arrive to Braga, Henry?
It's as soon as I get the phone call that my residency card is available to pick up. So I'm hanging by that phone. So who knows?
Okay, so not on the next weekend, because on the next weekend, Braga will be celebrating the São João. So the festivities of, we say Porto, and also Braga celebrates the São João, I believe. At least they have the streets prepared to celebrate.
Very good. Okay, I wonder if they've got any plastic hammers ready. We'll come back to that because we've got some questions that we need to address. Thanks, Henry.
No worries.
Good to be here tonight. And last but not least, Sarah Davey from Spartan FX. Great job in the last hour there, Sarah. How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, no, I'm good, thank you.
Well, sterling effort earlier on, and you're here with us again for the Dream Team session. If people want to watch the conversation we had with you, that will be published on Sunday evening. Anything else to add on this particular section in this environment on the Dream Team?
No, just that we didn't mention that obviously we recommended having a chat with us in early stages. But if you're a little bit too early, we do have a guide. So I'll pop the link in the chat and you can request one of our moving money to Portugal guide.
Good on you. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Sarah will do that in the chat here on Zoom. And of course, good evening to everybody over on YouTube. First question for you then, Mariana. Is IMA holding the appointments for resident permits? I have one coming up in July. This is from Janine. My last appointment in April was cancelled, rescheduled. What do you make of that, Mariana? I see you're already busy working behind the scenes, but it might be useful information for everybody, that.
Yeah, of course. Well, from what I'm seeing with our clients here at the company is really that it's a matter of luck, and also if you decide to change your intended date to come to Portugal. And by this I mean because with the clients that maintain everything, they didn't change any dates with the consulate nor anything. The visas came with appointments, and the one visa that in Washington that the client had to ask to be to change the validity of the visa and push a bit forward the intended date to arrive, that visa came without the appointment, and that's why or people that delay a lot coming to Portugal, and this is in the moment that the consulate reaches out to you via email and lets you know your visa was granted, please send in your passport. And at this moment, sometimes when clients try to change the dates to come to Portugal, it's when happens this situation where the visas come without appointments. But gladly, Janine, from what I've understood, has already her appointment, which is great. It can be a big headache, and I even say it's better say the migraine to get an appointment with IMA. So yes. It's great that she already has it.
Yeah, and we have the question sometimes, Mariana, thanks for that. We do have people asking if they can reschedule or miss their appointments. It's not a good idea to do that, is it? If you get it's gold dust, go for it.
Yeah, and big no. And when this happens, when the client is asking about this, I'm always like, please don't do that, because I have clients that arrived in Portugal in October that are still waiting for the appointment. So
wow.
I'll do the maths of the time that it's taking.
It's the golden ticket. It's the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory migratory golden ticket, basically. So if you get an appointment, use it. It's gold dust there. Thank you for addressing that. If there's anything else we can do for you, Janine, you know what to do. Pop your question into the chat here on Zoom. And we're getting questions. Oh, who's that? Jeffrey, did you have a question, or did you just accidentally unmute there? I'm trying to find you on the screen, Jerry, because I want to Jeffrey, I beg your pardon, because I'm trying to mute you up, which I'm struggling to do now. Maybe someone else in the team might be able to do that. Jeffrey, you've unmuted yourself. I know. I'll find another way of doing it in the participants. Bear with me while I find Jeffrey. It could have been a lot worse. I found out how to mute him there. That could have been a lot worse, everybody. But it was okay. If you have got a question for us, Jeffrey, pop it in the chat. You can watch that again if you want to on recording, and check my reaction time. Okay, let's go back to the Zoom chat there, where we've got a comment from Ken. Great to meet up in Tamar, Jerry. So not only a great meetup in Porto yesterday with Expats Portugal, but memories of the meetup in Tamar with Jerry. The caves were amazing. Thanks for the recommendation. Do you want to elaborate on that? I mean, is that how you show people a good time, Jerry? Take them to caves?
No.
All right. Okay.
But we do have some stunning caves here near Tomar.
Yes.
And they're not very well advertised, but they are glorious. And I highly recommend anyone who enjoys looking at stalactites and stalagmites and all the different colors and the waters, and they're just incredible. But you don't hear about them very much, but well worth a visit. So,
I think they're the Grutas, aren't they? The name of the caves here in Portugal that you can go and visit.
Well, there are several sites, but you know, I'd be glad to help if anyone's interested. I'd be glad to send on the details.
And if you want to see a Hank stalactite, you need to go to Porto for that, or check out the social on the occasional Saturday evening. Alex K, thank you for your question. Thanks for that, Jerry, about the caves there, and thanks, Ken, for your comment. Okay. How complicated is it to build your new own house? This is a good question. There isn't a specific expert here. You will find people who can help you in the Expats Portugal Business Directory. But I think Carolina might have something to say about this, as does Nuno this evening. How complicated is it to build your own house? Architecture, or the architect, the approvals, contractors, how long can it take on average? Nuno, you've got a little bit of personal insight, haven't you, to add to this particular question?
Yes, so it has been, in my case, a hard path, but we are we are doing what needs to be done regarding the construction of a house. But the bureaucracy with the Câmara Municipal, it's been hard, really hard.
Okay.
There are it's stated by law that the cameras they must reply to the documentation that we submit on a certain time, but they don't comply with this. So
Wow.
it's complicated. It's complicated, and if someone needs to rely on the bank, harder it will be. So could not be easy. Could not be easy, but we have we insured some houses made from the ground from expats, and no many problems. So it depends on the location. It depends on the contacts that you could have on the camera. Not necessarily you, but the architect or the engineers that will be working with you or behind you. So yeah, it's a challenge.
Okay, so it's definitely one of those it depends questions.
Yeah,
and
it is.
If it doesn't go well, it can be really awkward and difficult by the sound of it. So Alex, think long and hard about that. Okay, thank you, Nuno. What would you add to that, Carolina?
So I agree with what Nuno said, because you have to ask for some license at the parish. You have to have an evaluation from an engineer, and you have to wait for the evaluation to happen. Then you have to wait for the results, and just for the architect, you have to do a project. The project has to be accepted. You have to pay a fee, and it can be very expensive. And all this process takes a long time. So it's not simple, and it's one of those questions where you say it depends on the project.
And it's not for the faint-hearted, is it? I mean, it sounds like it's hard enough for a Portuguese native. For a foreigner to take it on, there's an added level of complexity, challenge, and difficulty. So you'd have to really want to do it. I think it would be would be the something to bear in mind there, Alex. But not impossible. It can be done, but you need to be in the right kind of. You need to prepare yourself adequately.
I can add a bit to it.
Of course, Daniel. Thank you.
Basically, the first step on this one is to buy a plot of land to build in Portugal. To buy a plot of land that it's admissible to buy. So the first step is indeed do the due diligence on the property documents and on what we call the PDM, or the Municipal Director Plan. This is the document that is indeed most relevant, the PDM, that will be able for the client to know if it's possible to build on that specific plot of land. Because this happens quite a lot in Portugal. Some plots are sold as urban plots, but they're not. The classification, the tax classification classes them as urban plots, but actually the PDM or the municipality doesn't allow building on that plot. So don't trust the initial documents that are provided. The tax documents and the land registry are not what it needs to affirm the buildability of a plot. Afterwards, after you do perceive it's buildable or not, you can do what's called the initial information request, or in Portuguese, PIP, and the municipality will do a general assessment of the situation and will state, well, you can build on this plot to 150, a house of 250 square meters or so, with this type of amenities and so on and so forth. After that, as previously said, you need an engineer and an architect to do the projects of the house. They will be submitted and you need to wait for approval. Within this initial stage, I would say a year to a year and a half, just to obtain the building license. And this is bare minimum. In some cases, it can be 2 years to obtain the construction license.
Wow.
Afterwards, you start building, and usually building in Portugal, I would say a year and a half to 2 years to have a house completed. And after that, well, before you had the utilization license, nowadays new documents will need to be submitted by the project manager stating that the house was built up to code and up to the plans submitted. In the middle of the process, the municipality can always inspect the property and can always request corrections in things that are not well done. So as you well said, it's not for the faint of heart. And usually this is not something that expats would like to have, because it's such a long time to have the dream house built that they rather search for houses that are already built, although they may not be the dream house, but with some refurbishment they can become. So we do see a trend, at least in our law firm, that people rather buy the house already developed than to do all this process. And I do understand why, because for myself, I did the same choice. I bought a house that was already developed, and I've not done this full procedure because it's too lengthy. It takes quite a long time.
Very interesting. Thank you, all three of you, for your input on that. Alex is saying, I better start now. Not moving just yet. And I think probably another good angle on this is to work with professionals. I mean, you know, think about it now rather than much later on in your process of moving to Portugal. Engage with professionals who can help you now think about the process and who have the track record, you know, of actually getting things built. And so you don't have to keep reinventing wheels or find yourself in too much of a gray area or a difficult situation there, Alex. But that's a great subject. Thank you very much for asking that question, Alex. Much appreciated there. Let's go.
Can I jump in very quickly and ask a question while we're on the property? I read somewhere, or a client asked me, that there was a recent government reform allowing first-time buyers under 35 to buy a property with a government guarantee and no taxes that recently passed Parliament for residents. Does anyone know if that is the case? That is the case.
Let's go back to Daniel on that, because I think Daniel will know.
Well, it was indeed approved. I don't know if the Parliament still will need to rectify the situation, but the government did approve the measure, and they are two different measures. One of them I do agree fully, and this is if you are a resident in Portugal under 35 and you want to buy your first house, you cannot own any more property. You will be exempt of the property acquisition taxes, because buying a house for first-time buyers in Portugal is quite expensive. The price did skyrocket. And this is a measure to try to motivate young people to buy houses, or to put the houses in what they are able to reach in terms of their pockets and their savings. The other measure I don't agree with, and this is a grant from the government that basically covers the initial 10 or 20, I think it's 10%. In terms of defaulting, if the people requesting the loan do default, the government will basically cover those 10% if the sale of the house is not enough to cover the loan requested. I don't agree with this measure, because this, it increases the house prices in the market, because if there's more demand, there's more people buying houses, then the prices will continue growing. And I think that the risk of the banks, what will happen is that the banks will not do the proper risk assessment, because they'll know that they'll have always the state guarantee. And if banks are not doing the proper due diligence and risk assessment, we had 2007 and 2008 to prove that this is a bad measure. So I do oppose to this measure of the government stepping in and guaranteeing this to the banks, because what we see from the banks is that they will not do the proper due diligence in terms of the financial assessment out of those clients. And the other aspect is that people that would be off the property market because they don't earn enough money or they don't have enough savings, they will be allowed to get into the property market. But if they don't have stable lives and stable jobs that are able to pay those loans, well, the banks will try to push loans anyway, and this is really a bad idea. So one measure I do agree fully, the other I do disagree fully, to be honest.
Thanks
Good.
for that, Daniel.
Thank you for
Henry,
that.
I guess that answers your question there.
Yeah, thank you.
Good. Okay. Terrell, good to see you too. You're saying here in the Zoom chat, great to see everyone today. Oh, incidentally, please subscribe. If you're watching this later on and not in a live situation, why not subscribe to the Expats Portugal YouTube channel? Or better still, become a member and then you can come and be here live and ask your questions, just like Terrell's done here. Great to see everyone today. For someone currently on a 2-year residency permit, hoping to renew for a 3-year one, when the current one ends in May 2025. What news or updates are there with respect to recent immigration law changes? So someone going from 2 to 3 years in a D7 situation, for example, there, Mariana, anything in the recent legislation that is helpful to those people?
Well, to my knowledge, in this specific situation, I'm not seeing any. It still maintains the same, where you can get either an automatic renewal appointment or you have to go there in person. But this is a great question, and since a lot is changing, and it's up to our lawyers to work with the residency permit assistance and everything, I would really recommend just shooting us an email. Just to make sure. Then I'll check with a lawyer and check the nuances of it in your specific situation, Terrell.
There you go, Terrell. And it is interesting, isn't it? Because we did hear a lot of, I think noise is an unfair a judgment, but the sounds were being made, weren't they, about making IMA more efficient, incentivizing staff, giving them performance-related pay. There are moves afoot, aren't there, to make these processes better for people in this sort of situation, right, Mariana? But we've yet to see if that's going to actually make a tangible difference, right?
Yes, there's a lot of efforts, a lot of intent, but still just written, and we're not seeing the progress yet being made. So, and by the time you renew your permit, a lot, of course, might have changed. So it's a matter of keeping in contact with us, because this is ever changing, these laws and this IMA situation. They have a lot of measures that they want to apply, that they want to change, a lot of procedures to ease up or speed up the process, to ease up your lives. So it's really a matter of keeping in touch, really,
and
to be
literally
updated.
hundreds of thousands of cases, right, that they're trying to do. So it's an incredible workload. It really is. I mean, you know, as frustrated as we might be, we do have to spare a thought for the people at the receiving end, don't we, of that workload. Thanks, Mariana. Thanks, Terrell. Good to see you. Thanks for that question. Jose Cruz, I read that the government was considering eliminating tolls on the national motorways. Is this true? If it is, what is the status? I never understood why, if the motorways were largely built with EU funds, why Portugal chose to make them toll roads. I think it is probably a little bit of a partnership initiative, isn't it, that the government agreed to charge people in return for having them built in the first place. No, have you heard this? Is this something that's going around as gossip, or is this something at the heart of this that's true, that the government are considering eliminating tolls on the national motorways?
Well, knowing that we are talking about politicians, we never know.
Right. Okay.
So yes, they are talking about that.
Oh, so it is a real thing. It is something that's in the air, that to get rid of them completely.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is.
Right.
It is.
Okay.
So I honestly, I don't believe that this could happen. But yes, they are talking. But they are professionals on talking. So yeah, they need to talk.
Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath, and keep carrying your payment details in the car with you. As you say, there you go. So yeah, nothing tangible there, I'm afraid to say. And it's always a political football, isn't it? The toll road thing. You know, even if it's a local one, the Algarve ones are famous, aren't they? For like, are they going to charge? Should they bring them down? Should they put them up? All of that sort of thing. So yeah, don't hold your breath, as you say, Cruz. And thanks for asking the question, however, because that is an interesting one for sure. There. Let's go over to YouTube. Thanks, Nunu, for your insight on that one. We've got the Naunu, and we've got Gemini and Benjamin this evening saying hello from Trinidad and Tobago. Fantastic. Good to see you, Gemini, the Naunu, and Benjamin over there. The Naunu has a couple of questions. Is IMA planning to switch all the scheduling processes of residence permits to their online portal instead of getting appointments on the phone? Have you heard that one, Mariana?
I've heard about the rumors, but we're still we're still trying to figure out the truth in it.
Yes.
Because we've heard about it, but still like we're still doing the calls at our offices and calling every day to try to get appointments. And yeah, again, zero luck on that. But we're still figuring out actually. But I've heard about it.
In terms of what you know about Portuguese bureaucracy generally, it's usually a balance, isn't it, of online and speaking to people.
Yes, and going there in person and like recon them to
take your ticket. Yeah, and that's part of Portuguese culture, isn't it? It's unlikely that something would go completely online, isn't it?
Yes, and usually we're not that strict with our bureaucracy, at least from my perspective. So that's why we have these chances of sometimes going there, or at least we hear about it, that people go there and get appointments, or there's a contact and that kind of situations. But yes, usually it's this balance, and they tell you it's online, but then you go there and sometimes then people tell us otherwise.
Yes.
But we're still figuring it out.
Okay, so a bit like the toll roads. Yeah, don't hold your breath on that. It's in the air. It's an idea. It might be gossip, but yeah, stick to the current system and keep plugging away. Now, who also has a question for Carolina. Thanks, Mariana, for that. Carolina, does CP Casa Portuguesa operate in any area with more Russian-speaking population? From your experience, Carolina, where is the largest Russian-speaking population here in Portugal?
I believe in the north of Portugal, because our office in Porto usually has Russian clients. So I would say Porto, north of Portugal.
North of Portugal. That's good to know. All right, thank you very much for that. It's interesting, isn't it, where nationalities tend to congregate. I wouldn't have guessed that, but there you go. For Russian-speaking communities, go to the north of Portugal. For Daniel from Terrell, speaking of renovations and housing, yeah, Ken was saying earlier on actually that I think in terms of building your own place, that's really difficult, as is even renovations can be quite challenging here in Portugal. Come back to you, Ken, because I think you had an additional comment about the Festa, the developing Festa season here in Portugal and in the north specifically. But Terrell, coming back to Terrell and for Daniel specifically, speaking of renovations and housing, what do you see as the current directions for AL, Alojamento Local, approvals? Renovations on my place are on hold for now. So any notable changes in the AL scene, please, Daniel?
Well, not for the time being. It seems that this new government doesn't want to change the AL situation, but in the majority of places you can still do it, especially in the interior of Portugal, because you do have some legal provision that's called rural tourism, and that rural tourism is the equivalent to AL. So anyone that is outside the big city centers can rest assured that they can do short-term rentals, because that's not a problem. In terms of Lisbon and Porto, the restrictions are indeed up, but this is on the municipal level. This is not on the full Portugal. So this is on a case basis. We need to look into what's the municipality where the property is, and if it's suitable for AL in that specific municipality, if it's not in a restriction zone. Even in some places in Porto, it's still possible. So this does depend a bit. If you are on the outskirts of Portugal, in the interior of Portugal, then you can always have rural tourism, because that's always a possibility, and that was not affected by the recent changes. But well, do reach out. We'll assess the situation, and we'll let you know if that one is specific, or if it's AL is possible on that property or not.
That's great, Daniel. Thanks. There you go, Terrell. And are your renovations contingent on that governmental decision there, Terrell? It'd be interesting to know that if you want to share that. And how lovely. I mean, as I recall, you have a beautiful location in central Portugal, and how brilliant that would be to be able to stay there in your locality as well. And maybe as part of this huge circular walk that's been announced. Can't remember how many kilometers it is, but there's been a plan coming out of Alcobaça to create the biggest circular walk in any country in the world around Portugal. It's a very daring plan and a very good one. There was a chap from Alcobaça who was out walking one day and thought, how about if I could walk from here and walk all the way around Portugal and back again? It's a great idea, and it's been picked up by the press all over the world. So I hope to be able to report on that soon. Alex is saying to you, the Nano, we are Russian speakers and will eventually settle in Setúbal. I know some other Russian speakers there, so maybe that's another area you might want to consider, the Nano. Mariana, I think you should share this publicly, Mariana. I think you're a bit of a seafood fan, right? So is Setúbal known for its choco frito then? Is that a specialty there?
Yes, I believe I'm translating it correctly, but you can help me, Portuguese people. It's like fried squid.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, we love the choco frito. It's very popular with my
okay, already are
Oh, I
familiar
love
with
it. I love it. Yeah. And also, you can have a bit of javeli, as we've noticed just recently. A few wild boar have been turning up on the beach as well, have they not?
Yeah, yeah, it's lovely. You can be in the beach in your towel and just a wild boar in there sitting with you.
Yes, don't feed them though, because they're not very polite. Once they get the idea that if you chuck them a tidbit or two, they will start truffling their way through your personal belongings. And I heard of somebody saying that they saw a wild boar actually bite into a can of Coke. They are pretty destructive and dangerous animals when crossed, especially the protective mamas. So be careful. As sweet as it might look to see a javeli, a wild boar next to you sunbathing on the beach, they can be savage creatures. So stay well away there. What else have we got coming into the chat now? Thank you very much. Oh, Jose Cruz, yeah, the proposed circular walk. I wasn't sure if it was 4,000. It's actually 3,000 kilometers, but that's still pretty good. And I thought choco frito was something with chocolate. Laronda, we learned something on these webinars and on the Dream Team session. You could be forgiven for thinking that. And I'm sure loads of tourists have come to Portugal and thought to themselves, choco frito, that sounds like a fried chocolate thing, only to discover that they are buying some deep fried seafood there. It is delicious, but not if you're expecting chocolate. Terrell, you can have wild boar that my village dog catches, if you like. Wow, it sounds pretty. Yeah, that is a brave dog. Says Daniel. It is a brave dog, isn't it? I was walking in the countryside with my two dogs, and we heard wild boar in the valley. And me and the bigger dog looked at each other and ran for our lives. The little dog, the little terrier, wanted to stay and have a fight, but she's like that. But they're very scary creatures, so give them the due respect that they deserve there. We're coming towards the end. We've got about 12 minutes left here on the Dream Team session. We do this every Thursday evening, and we give priority, of course, to Expats Portugal Premium members. You can sign up at expatsportugal.com. I wonder if the wild boar would eat bacon. I think they eat anything, to be fair. And they do taste pretty good, I've got to say as well. Javeli, everyone's nodding. All the Portuguese people are nodding. As dangerous as they acknowledge. Yeah, let's put it this way. I think Portuguese people prefer them on a plate and not at the end of their garden. Yes, we're getting more nods for that. And Javelina are mean, says LaRonda. They absolutely are. Let's have a quick look over on YouTube. Get the questions in because we're coming to a conclusion here on the Dream Team session. The now, no, not a question, just a statement here. Just wanted to say today I completed 7 months of waiting for the D2 visa approval from India. It's not a question, Mariana, but is there any news? You spoke very gladly of changes in San Francisco. Are you getting any similar positive information from India at the moment?
At the moment, it depends on the visa, of course, but at the moment, just we've had a good when it came to a student visa that was approved and everything went well. But when it comes to residency visas, it's a bit more tricky and can take some more time. So even to get appointments, it's really difficult. I didn't understand what was the point of this person's
It was just me, actually. And the Naunu wasn't asking a question. They were just saying that they've waited 7 months for a D2 now. I was just wondering if you'd heard anything positive or useful about India. Sadly not. Sorry, the Naunu there. Kiss Dirt, which is an interesting name over on YouTube, says cuttlefish. So I guess, yeah. Would you agree with that? It's deep fried cuttlefish is the choco frito there. Squid, cuttlefish. I'm not sure what the difference is, but somebody I'm sure will tell us. The Nano, thank you for that. Squire of the Shire is also over there on YouTube. I hope everything's going well for you, Squire. The project, that long walk of 3,000 kilometers, circular walk around Portugal, is called Palmilhar. Thank you very much for that. Portugal, Treading Portugal, designed by Ricardo Bernardes. She's the chap who I mentioned. from Alcobaça there. Thanks for that, Squire of the Shires. I should know. I wrote about it in the Portugal Resident. I just couldn't recall all the information in that moment there. I think we've got more questions coming in these last few minutes of the Dream Team session. I do want to ask everybody about the unfolding and developing Festa scene, because we've had mention of it already in Braga, and the big one is coming up, isn't it, San João in Porto. There was a question earlier on about golden visas. That's what I need to go back to. And both Henry and Daniel might want to approach this from different points of view. Daniel, I think it was about appointments. Any changes with appointments with golden visa processes?
Well, for the golden visas, what it's happening at the moment, we are massively sending emails to all the contacts that we have from SEFA and AIMA. And with some resistance, they are providing bookings. In some cases, we are suing the Portuguese state as well, and we are able to obtain the bookings. So with some effort and some insistence, we are now reaching some results, and we are obtaining bookings for our clients that had the process pre-approved long ago, but we're still waiting for it for the bookings to occur. Because if they don't collect the biometric data, then the process doesn't develop. What I've been telling my clients is the following. The wait, although obnoxious, is actually financially good, because the majority of the golden visa clients, they are not residing in Portugal. If they would be residing in Portugal, they would probably obtain a D7 or any other type of residency permit. So if they're waiting 3 years or 3 years and a half for their first residency permits, with this new laws, the time that they are waiting will account for the Portuguese nationality. They will only need one card, and one card is 5.7K, give or take. If they had to do the renewals, well, they would need to have 5.7K added to that expense. So financially, this waiting period, although again quite obnoxious, financially, it's going to be good for our clients. That's basically the gist or the bottom line.
Swings and roundabouts then on that. Thanks for that update, Daniel. Let's go to you as well, Henry. On the YouTube channel of Expats Portugal, of course, you have presentations about the evolution of the golden visa and what it's become in recent times. Do you want to say anything about that, Henry?
But that would be for my colleague Jason. I believe he's done some webinars on this, but for myself, I can't comment on it.
Okay, so you're in a different department, of course. Look at Jason's presentations on the evolution of the golden visa on Expats Portugal YouTube channel. If you want to look at the latest twist and turn of how the golden visa has ended up and how you can take advantage of that still here in Portugal. Unless there are any other questions. Let me just check. I'm having a look on YouTube now. We've kissed dirt. Oh, yes, cuttlefish. Proper name of that particular cut there, which is used. Thank you for that, Kister, who says also, I'm waiting 8 months for my nationality, Portuguese son, born in Canada, and it's still only level 1, as in it's just arrived with you by the sound of it. So good luck with that process. Por to you, Kister. Thank you for being there. New name on YouTube. And I'm just checking back here on Zoom before we talk more about Festas this evening, by way of a conclusion to the Dream Team session tonight. We're having a serving suggestion, I think. French fries, you suggest, Mariana, to go with a choco frito. Is that the perfect accompaniment there?
Yes, I believe it's the norm, and it's my favorite. And
are you from Portugal, or do you live there? Is that how you have the connection?
Nearby, yes, because I live in South Coast, as Gilda.
Yes, okay. The
South Coast. I don't know if Gilda calls it like that, Margem Sul, South Coast. But so it's near.
I think the Margem Sul is just sounds so romantic, doesn't it? It's like the south bank of the
romantic,
or the left bank of the Seine. Yeah, I think. Why are all the Portuguese people laughing?
Perspective.
Sounds romantic to me. Okay, what a lovely way to end, anticipating the Festa season instead of hurricane season. Absolutely. Thank you, Terrell, for being here tonight. We have San João coming up in Porto. Now, which one of my Portuguese friends here is going to tell me why people go around hitting each other on the head with a plastic hammer? And before that, the fertility symbol of a massive leak. Who would like to speak about that? Who's been there and been hit other people or been hit on the head themselves with a plastic hammer? Has anyone done that from our Portuguese lineup here?
As I'm from Lisbon, I've never done it.
And you never would?
No, I will. I would, but I've never done it, unfortunately.
Well, thank you.
I love
What?
Porto.
Oh, okay. And what's your favorite festa? Were you there for the Santos Populares in Lisbon then?
No, I usually run away from it.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're
It's well, I've done quite a lot of Santos Populares back in the day, but nowadays I like to go south and go to the Algarve. That's what I did. That's why I didn't show up in the last webinar. I was in Algarve. Yeah, I usually do run away from Lisbon. It's too crowded, too many people drunk in the streets. Not for me anymore. I'm getting old.
That's so interesting to me and my stereotypical view of the Algarve. He's leaving Lisbon because people are drunk in the street to go to the Algarve, where people are never drunk in the street, of course.
Well, you're going to the wrong Algarve, my friends.
Yes, you're right, Daniel. You are absolutely right. I've seen the news reports about Albufeira, and I apologize now on behalf of all British people. Right. Thank you, Daniel, for that. Who has been then to San João in Porto who can talk about this? No, he's shaking his head as well.
Not me.
Who hasn't been there?
Not me. Not me.
Okay, we're gonna have to.
But nothing again. It seems that the people that attend to the festivities of São João, they enjoy a lot, probably more than in Lisbon.
Yeah.
But I never been there at the festivities.
But it's fair what I'm saying. It's a plastic hammer. People go around hitting each other on the head with the plastic hammer, and then there's fireworks.
Correct.
These are all fertility symbols, obviously, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that's what you can look forward to. Ken's.
Is that this weekend? Do we need to go and investigate?
It's not too late,
Yes,
Sarah.
this
It's
weekend,
not too
Sarah.
late. Tickets on the Comboios Portugal are very reasonably priced, Sarah, if you want to pop up there. And you buy a plastic hammer on the way up there, or take a traditional leek with you, the alho française, which was before the plastic hammers came along. People used to tap each other on the head with a leek. Thank you for that. The Dream Team panel tonight. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything on this note. Mariana, Carolina, do you want to say anything about the festive season that's here? Not the Christmas festive season, but the festa season here in Portugal, because we've had Sant Antonio, haven't we? São João this weekend. Is it São Pedro next that's going to be celebrated around the country?
I believe not. I believe it ends in São João, with São João, which I never been to as well. But Sant Antonio I've been, and it's very fun. A lot of drunk people. Yes, Danielle, it's true. But São João is very festive. I believe in Porto they live it a little bit more, as Nuno said. But Porto in general is, well, more hearted. They are like different. They feel things more. It's lovely. Porto is amazing.
Wow. Okay. That's lovely to hear that from people from the south being so fond of their northern brothers and sisters up there and the festivity that's about to happen. It's not too late, Sarah. So that's going to be an amazing festivity. And I think the fireworks, so if you can imagine you're on the banks of the Douro there and there are fireworks above the river, and you might be lucky enough to be on the amazing bridge there and see all of that. So a lovely weekend to come up, as Ken is suggesting here. I can't find your comment now, Ken, but I think you were saying you called it the João Niñas collectively as a group of festivals, 10 days. Here we go. In Angra. So the São João Niñas in Angra starts tomorrow and lasts for 10 days. And these Portuguese people in Angra there won't be alone in having sore heads. Lots of sleeping in come July the 1st. So it's just, this is the high point, really, isn't it? We're talking about of the Portuguese festive calendar. And of course, it does run through until Christmas. Of course, there's always a party going on in Portugal somewhere. Thank you all on the Dream Team tonight. You've been amazing. Thank you, Mariana, for being here this evening. Carolina, Sarah, thank you for being here. Daniel, Nuno, and Henry. I don't think I've missed anybody. Thank you so much. And thank you for all your wonderful questions coming in on Zoom and YouTube as well. Over to you, Astrid, for what's happening next week on the webinar session.
Thanks, Carl. So at 7:30 next week, we have a webinar about buying a car in Portugal. So whether you're planning on moving here or you're already living here in Portugal, get some tips on what to do and the processes that may be different here to your home country. So it'll be a very informative one, hosted by our own Jerry.
Excellent. Good to see. Well, it's going to be great to hear that. So we do love a car webinar here on Expats Portugal. So see you there for that one. Thanks for being here tonight. And as Mariana's saying there, I know it's only Thursday, but bon fin de semana to everybody. Muito obrigado for being here this evening, all of you on the Dream Team and everyone who's tuned in this evening, and those who we will see on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and become a member at Expats Portugal.